Welcome back, Have a Bash Homestead. I hope I'm going to keep up with these videos now to give you weekly updates on what's going on. And what I thought I would start with this week is a full garden tour of the kitchen garden to let you know what jobs we're going to be working on over the next few weeks and maybe reveal some of our plans. So I'd like to say that these jobs are just for the end of March, but that would be a complete and utter lie because there is so much to do that it's probably going to take all year to get through the lot of them. So as you can see, there is lots of mess after the autumn and the winter, and as I mentioned in my last video, it's because at one point we just downed tools and went into hibernate, and that's absolutely fine, and I'm actually not that bothered about it. So we'll have a little look around the garden. We'll do it in sections and I'll just talk through what's happening right now, what has been happening, and what we're going to do in order to make things look a little bit better. Half of the garden still looks relatively okay, and as you know, I did some work on it last week, so it does look a bit tidier in some areas, but then like this area is just chaos, so it's going to take a little bit of sorting out. Now this bit here is like an extension of the nursery, and there's loads of different plants and shrubs in there. There's some roses and some fruit bushes, some gooseberries, some honeyberries I do believe somewhere, some comfrey, and just some random bits and bobs, which like I say, they do need to go into the ground this year without fail, but it's still too wet so we can't get them in at the moment. Now once all these have gone into the ground, these pallets will be clear, because ideally we want to use this entrance to get the barrow in and out when we need it, because we're having to use the single gate rather than the double gate at the end, and it's just annoying. Now these stone planters we've had since we moved here, and I do want to empty these and put some herbs in and put them over near the polytunnel. So that's what I'm going to do with those at either side of the polytunnel door. I think is where they're going to go, with some herbs in, maybe some flowers. Now these are the raspberry beds. The raspberries are these ones we planted in these 3 beds. These 3 beds were already here when we moved here. The ground is not very good here, but the raspberries seem to love it, and it's nice and shaded under the trees. This one is full of weeds and also other flowers and daffodils and stuff, which I did try to pull out last year. Obviously failed. These are just some bilberries that we've got nestling in, and this is the original raspberry section. As you can see, they're just starting to sprout back up again now, so I think the only thing I need to do here is to sort out the supports and probably put some organic matter down here for the raspberries, because I can't remember the last time we conditioned this ground, so that is a really overdue job. Now this ground around here, it's all just higgledy-piggledy, and the pathways and everything need weeding like there's no tomorrow. Look at that pretty little flower there. How beautiful is that? I don't even know what that is. If anyone knows what that is, feel free to let me know. But I love seeing the random things that pop up in the garden, and I don't always pull them out either because, well, they're beautiful, so why not? So this pathway is the bane of my life. It really does need scraping back and a membrane putting down, or gravel putting on top, or just something to control it, because it is just the worst to maintain. And I didn't do any weeding towards the back end of last summer, and I didn't really have time to keep up with it, so it has got out of control, but it's not important right now. This little area too has loads of random pots in it which aren't technically plants. That big blue tub with the purple dead nettle in is, I'm pretty sure it was a tub that I was using for compost, and now the dead nettle's taken over, but the bees love it, so I'm leaving it there for now. But that area is going to get cleared, and hopefully this pathway is going to get cleared too. We do ideally need to scrape it back with a digger and do it properly, but I just don't think we're going to have time to do that this year because of the other projects we've got going on. This bed has 2 honeyberries and 4 aronia in, along with some random flowers. Now I have thought about moving these, but again, we don't want to disturb an established plant, so kind of toying with the idea. As you can see, again, the bed is full of weeds, so all the weeds were pulling out down all the pathways and in all the beds. Here's another collection of random plants that we've got, which we need to find a home for. Some of them probably dead, not likely to come back. Some of them are perennials. Here is a flower bed, which we do put new flowers into every year, but it is quite shaded, so it is hit and miss what will grow here. And it's just one of those random beds where we just kind of throw stuff in if we've got it lying around. Again, we do need to put some organic matter in there because it's been a while. These are wine berries on the left hand side, ready for a new home. And this is just an extra section of like gravel and walkway. We usually do put seeds on shelves there in the summer. This is a herb bed, which is doing really well now, but in the summer it was kind of like all the herbs had holes in them, like there were some bugs eating them, so I'm going to move those herbs. And these two beds here, these had onions in, which you can see they're still growing back a little bit now, along with all the weeds and the grass, but they didn't do very well, so I need a new plan for these two beds. They both need topping up with some organic matter adding in there. As you can see, there's lots of clay pebbles in there because we used to have raspberries in these crates until we moved them all out into the garden. So they need topping up with organic matter and some compost, and then I need to decide what's going in there. I'm thinking at the moment that it's going to be like a shade-loving herb like parsley or mint or lemon balm, but we will see. Now this crate is a full sun crate. Last year it housed tomatoes and they did really well. In fact, they got too big and heavy that the canes broke that were holding them when we had some strong winds, but it does need topping up with some organic matter and some compost, so that is still to do once we've moved those plants out of there. This section is the bane of my life. It is constantly a mess and I just can't seem to get on top of it, but all of this is going to be moved and put away so that we can make space for some beds to go at either side of the polytunnel door. It's literally just a dumping ground for empty plant pots, but the stone planters I showed you earlier, I do want to either side of the polytunnel with some herbs in or something like that, and that's where they're going to go. So all of this needs clearing and putting away so that we can get the ground level and get those moved. These are some perennial flowers that we picked up from the supermarket, obviously to expand our flower collection for the bees that we're getting in June. We are very excited about getting the bees, so we want them to love it here, even though they do tend to fly within a 3-mile radius. So we're kind of going mad on the flowers at the moment. Now this is one of the nurseries that we've got, and we did make this extension to the garden last year to house a lot of the fruit bushes that are going in the ground this year. They were just babies because we propagated them. Oh, look at these. This is a scarlet perennial poppy and some pink achilleas that I picked up from the side of the road from a plant sale. You've got to love plant sales at the side of the road. A random tayberry there as well. We've got some thornless blackberries, which are 2 years old this year, which means they will give us fruit this year because they were babies last year. So they all need repotting on into bigger pots, and with some teepees probably putting in them so we can control the canes. As you can see, they've got some nice little buds coming on there as well. So the idea with this section though is to, once we've got all the plants sorted out, which we're going to be taking the plants out in the next couple of weeks and sorting them out so that we can see what we've got and what we need to put out into the garden and repot and stuff like that. Once we've got all these plants taken out of here, we're going to reorganize the space, and it's going to, first, when it warms up a bit and it's not as windy, it's going to house the pop-up polytunnels we've got so we can put our seedlings in there while we get the big polytunnel ready for the main crops. And then once the sun comes back round to another part of the garden, when we move the mini polytunnels, this section is going to be where we have crates with carrots or potatoes, because it does get a lot of sun and it will be easy to maintain the moisture of the crates because it will be in the garden where I am most of the time. This is an old trough that we used last year. I had cucumbers in here, and I did try to grow some loofah because I wanted to make my own kitchen sponge, but it wasn't successful, and it was right there where that big grass pile is. So this trough's coming out and the floor needs doing again. We did put cardboard down when we extended into this area of the garden, but because of all the rain we've had, the cardboard has just basically degraded, and so has the wood chip, and it is just back to mud. So all of this needs doing again. I think we'll probably put some more cardboard down and some more wood chip on top, but once that's done, once the plants have been moved out, as I say, we'll probably put some big IBC trays that we've got and put some gravel in there, and then we'll put some grow bags on top, which we're going to put carrots or potato buckets on as well for the main growing section of the season. So it does look really busy in here right now, and I'm really looking forward to getting these plants organised and in the ground, because I do have a thing about plants being in pots for too long. I think it suppresses the plants, and I just love it when you put them into the ground and they flourish and they grow to their full potential. So I don't like keeping them in pots for too long. It's something that bugs me, it really is. So I'm super excited to get this organised. I just hope that the ground dries up in the next couple of weeks, at least a little bit, so we can start getting some of these into the ground, because, you know, it feels like we are waiting forever to get stuck in this year, because we're still kind of like weather permitting on a lot of the jobs that we can do, which is frustrating, but it's also kind of like gives you time to organise what you want to do before the time comes and it's full speed ahead.